All right, we switch gears. An awesome topic I can't wait to talk about. NFTs. Why should you care? What are they? How are they affecting our lives? And the reason we wanted to do this story with our marketing guru, Alex McArthy from RaisingSails, is because 2 days ago, former President Trump sold out his NFTs in record time for millions of dollars. So we wanted to educate everybody, get everybody up to speed. When I asked Alex about it, he's like, oh, go figure, perfect timing. I just watched a 3-hour video on the whole subject. Alex, good morning. What the hell's going on with NFTs?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. A long time no chat.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sure. So let's start with, I guess the news piece that kind of broke the story of this topic open, and that is Trump did something that, once again, a lot of politicians have shied away from, and that's formally backing and supporting a NFT project. And typical mainstream does. They were making fun of them, tearing into them, and he actually released, I believe, an earlier round of NFTs.
He did.
I believe, like in the fall, was it, Tabitha?
He sold them for $100 each. And what's so crazy about the first round, and in this particular time, an NFT, as you guys know, and I'm sure Alex will explain to us, can be anything. It's a digital asset.
And an NFT stands for non-fungible token. What is fungible? Fungible is like the ability to replicate, trade, or transfer something. So if you have $1, let's say, you could transfer it, and we all know in recent years you can also replicate it. Same with, let's say, something like just a regular photo that you have on your computer. Yep. You can copy it. You can send, copies to other people. They can basically have a like 1-for-1 exact replica of the original, right? Well, these are non-fungible, so they cannot be copied or duplicated in the truest sense. So you can have an NFT that maybe you screenshot or take a picture of, and in that sense, you can kind of copy the image, but you cannot copy the data or the code, the string of text that's tied to that image or design. Anything could be an NFT. You can do like a watercolor painting, and then you can scan that or take a picture of it and then put it onto a computer, run it through one of these ecosystems. And what it essentially does is it then serializes that image. It attaches a unique set of code and like a string of numbers that it can identify with.
But why would I want that?
I'm going to share my screen, and we can kind of first look at the Trump NFTs. So essentially what it is an artist or an AI or a combination of the two came up with these. They ran it through a system or a network that was a blockchain that attaches a very unique identifier to each one of these. And so while I can copy and paste this, I can never own it without purchasing it. It's a very secure way to kind of be able to have that copyright, not only just prove ownership, but see the entire process of the transactions that happen. So you can have a famous Van Gogh painting, let's say, and hang it up in your house, and you could tell folks you bought it for $50 million, and unless that sale was public, no one would ever know if you're telling the truth. Also, unless if you had a renowned expert come in, you can potentially sell a replica that's a fake. All of those things I just outlined are not possible with NFTs. Any average person could go through their wallet, through these blockchain networks, and determine if it's like genuine or not, and then they could trace the trail from all the way when it was started, its origin, through all the different sales to where it is now.
Here's the one thing I wanted to try to dumb it down, so to speak. Value is placed on these digital images by humans.
Correct.
That's the whole thing. So,
and only because there's only one. There can never be two.
There is a reason why Trump's digital cards sold out for $4.6 million in a day. It's so fast that Tabitha,
I couldn't even get one.
Why are people buying them up? Because they see the future.
But they're collectibles.
So the pictures that we saw, the NFT pictures, the cards, what does one of those cost? Who buys it? I mean, just explain the buy-in mechanism that way.
I tried to buy one of Trump's coins back when they sold a few years ago. They were $100 a piece.
Okay.
And I missed it. I missed the boat because they sold out in
But you
minutes.
owned that one card. Is that correct?
They send you a replica in the mail, but it's a digital asset, but they do send you a real coin.
But how much of the coin
or a
did
real
you own?
card. Well, I didn't buy it. I missed the boat.
Okay.
I wanted wanted to buy it. But I'll tell you what, and this is why people buy these things, is that let's say Trump sold his coin for $100.
Yeah.
It went to a value of like $480, something like that.
Just because he owned it.
Just because it was an NFT. And then when he was indicted, the price went up to almost $900.
And how many did
each
he
of
own?
those coins. I don't remember. It was only a couple hundred.
If I may, I would probably disagree on a lot of those points, but to put it all in
Let's start where you
context.
disagree, because I disagree with myself.
Yeah, so to put it in context too, Eric, you mentioned this is kind of a Gen Z thing.
Yeah.
As a millennial, I was part of the Facebook generation growing up with our parents telling us that, you know, Facebook isn't real, get off of it, don't use it.
Yeah.
And now you fast forward and all our parents are on it way more than.
Well, I'm
than
part of
we
the
are.
phone on the wall generation.
So it's more of just a lack of knowledge and
Okay.
and access to it than it is more a generational thing.
Okay.
I just think the younger generations adapt quicker to some of these cultural trends. But this is much more than a trend. And I'll give you one great example you will be able to relate to, Eric, in terms
Okay.
of application. So you remember back in the day when we got printed concert tickets.
Yes.
And you would hold on to those. You try not to like tear them up or get them like.
He would
stapled.
scalp them.
Now you're speaking Eric's
You
language.
could
So-
scalp them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you wanted to like keep those. You'd hang them on your wall or put them on your posters, and you'd collect them.
Hell yeah.
Well, look at where it's gone today, where you go online, you pay like a $7 service fee for these tickets that ends up being an email of like a string of numbers, right? And you're now printing out an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper to get scanned when you walk in, or you're buying it on StubHub from someone else, and you're hoping that it's a legit transaction and they haven't already sold that ticket,
Right.
you know, elsewhere, right? So what NFTs now does, this technology allows, and I believe there's some sports venues that already have this in place for their existing tickets, but each ticket is now an NFT, which means it can't get sold to more than one person at a time. It eliminates any sort of fraud or security issue. It also still allows and creates for that feel of like that collectible, valuable kind of like design or art or memorabilia. But the real use case or application would be like it's keeping from a lot of the fraud that's happened by scalpers or people online that will maybe they'll sell tickets to the same ticket on Ticketmaster, StubHub, and then, you know, maybe through like Facebook Marketplace or whatever. That's not possible with these NFTs because it all has to go through the one blockchain network. And so you can see how much people paid for it previously. You don't have to take them for their word. And you also can see who currently owns it. Okay, the person selling it to me is also the one listed that owns it. So that's going to be a safe transaction. The value, just like anything else in the real world, comes down to supply and demand. So if like Eric's Trump cards, no one wants to buy them because they want to buy the official 45 collection, then there's not going to be any value attached to them. And I'll show you guys another commercial example of this happening. So this is Bored Ape Yacht Club. They're like, I'm sure some of these kind of designs might look familiar to folks, but this is like one of the most famous, definitely the most successful NFT project to date. I mean, they're selling and they've sold for upwards of like $1.4 million per one. And let's just take a look at like this eye patch guy here, and we could look and see what people are bidding because this one's for sale. We can look and see what people are bidding for it right now. Look, I mean, it's going for upwards of $96,000. Now,
excuse me.
And that's because there's only one.
Vic,
well, and
There's only one.
Vic.
When you buy
And
one,
here's-
there's only one.
here's the value to it, you guys. This is key. So right now is very much, I'd say, like a coastal and younger generation thing, but certainly like a lot of older celebrities have bought themselves a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT, but it's a very recognizable brand now. And so what people are doing is like the Nelk Boys, who are like famous YouTubers, they have their own seltzer. They bought one of these NFTs and they put it on one of their like seltzers as part for their banana flavor. Now, as a marketer, I know that in these situations, normally, if you're wanting to like pair up with a third party brand, you've got to talk licensing fees, you've got to talk royalty fees.
Ooh, good point.
Not with an NFT.
Good point.
Yeah, maybe they get $1 for every single pack that you sell. Well, with NFTs, they own this image. It does not belong to Bored Ape Yacht Club anymore. Whatever fee they paid for it, it is now theirs, and they can do whatever they want with it. So they put it on their seltzer, and they're not having to pay. Like if that was like, let's say Hank Hill from,
Right.
from King of the Hill,
Yep.
they'd be having to pay for every time that sold or for some huge exclusive deal. They don't have to do that. So it was so successful that they've done it now with jerky, because this was Mr. Peppered Bored Ape or whatever. So they had peppered beef jerky. And a lot of people that see this instantly know Bored Ape Yacht Club. So there's that brand value and association. And that's what they paid for. One last point. Thank you guys for having me. If nothing else, familiarize yourself enough with it to be an educated voter as these things start to make their way to the conversation from a political and cultural standpoint. So that way, none of us get the, hood dropped over our eyes because we feel like we're unfamiliar with this and we get sold a bag of goods by the quote unquote experts, because we know how well that has gone in the recent past.
Yeah.
So let's not let the experts control all these areas of our lives that are
That's
going
right.
to increasingly control large elements of how we interact with one another.
Thank you.